Good day, class. So our topic is about properties of real numbers. So we have here 5 properties of real numbers. Let's have the first property. We have a commutative property. Okay, so for the commutative property, we have two properties for addition and multiplication. So the word commutative is from the root word commute, okay, which means that you have to move around, all right? Same way in mathematics, when we say commutative property, you have to change the position of the numbers or of the real numbers. Let's have the first one, commutative property of addition, okay? So we have here the formula a plus b is just equal to b plus a, meaning to say if we interchange their addends, the sum will not be affected. For example, we have here two examples. The first is 3 plus 4 is just equal to its opposite, 4 plus 3. Okay, same, the sum would be 7. Also, negative 6 plus 2 is equal to 2 plus negative 6. So as you can see, we just interchanged their position and the sum would still be negative 4. So let's now have the commutative property of multiplication. We have in the form a times b is just equal to b times a. Examples, if we have negative 2 times 7, that's just equal to 7 times negative 2, which has the product of negative 14. Another, 1 half times 6 is just equal to 6 times 1 half, which is 3. Okay, so that's it for the commutative property. Let's now have the second one, associative property. Okay, so we have here still associative property of addition and for multiplication. So in any given expression containing two or more numbers along with an associative operator, which is the parenthesis, the order of operations does not change the final result as long as we keep the sequence of the operands or the addends or the factors. Let's have the first one, associative property of addition. So here we have it in a form a plus b plus c. The quantity of a plus b plus c is equal to a plus the quantity of b plus c. So as you can see here, as I stated earlier, for the definition of associative property, okay, so changing the associative operator or the parenthesis, the grouping, does not change its result, the sum. Okay, so here you just need to follow the same sequence. The only change here is the parenthesis or the grouping. Let's have an example. If we have 3 plus the quantity of 4 plus 5, that is just equal to the quantity of 3 plus 4 plus 5, okay, which is equal to 12. Okay, so that is for the addition or associative property of addition. So let's now move on for multiplication. We have in a form a times b, the quantity of a times b times c is equal to a times the quantity b times c. So if it's enclosed in a parenthesis or a grouping symbol, it's being read as the quantity, okay, meaning to say that is in one group. Example, if we have the quantity of 2 times 3 times 1, it's just equal to 2 times the quantity of 3 times 1. And the product of this is 6. Okay, so we just interchanged or regroup the real numbers. Okay, but it doesn't affect the product or the result. So we're down to our third, which we call the identity property. So we have here the term identity, meaning to say we have to serve its identity, its true self. Okay, so we have additive identity property. Okay, so the formula is the identity element here is 0, meaning to say if we add any number to 0, okay, the result is just the number. Vice versa, if we add 0 plus any number, still it's the number. So we preserved the identity of that number. Okay, so examples, 5 plus 0, that's 5 still. And 0 plus negative 8, still negative 8. Okay, so again, here for the additive identity property, we should add 0 for us to have still its identity. For multiplicative identity property, okay, same, the goal is to preserve its identity. However, here the identity element is not 0, but rather it should be 1. So meaning to say, any number multiplied by 1 is the number itself. Examples, 9 times 1 is 9. 1 times negative 22 is still negative 22. So that's it for the identity property. Okay, meaning to say the result, the sum or the product should still be its number or the original number, the identity. So the fourth one is what we call the inverse property. So for the inverse property class, it's what you add or multiply to a given number to make it 0. So our goal here now for the additive property is the result should be 0. Okay, that's the difference between the identity and inverse. For identity, the result should be the original number. Here, in additive inverse, okay, so the result should be 0. So if we have here any number, for us to get the result of a 0, we should add its opposite, which is negative. Okay, examples, 3 plus negative 3, that is equal to 0. Okay, so we added the negative of 3, which is negative 3. Also, 9 plus negative 9 is 0. Okay. So for the multiplicative inverse of property, here this time our goal is to make the result or the product 1. Okay, so that's the difference from the identity property. So for the identity property, we are multiplying the number by 1 and have a result of the number. Here, we have to multiply the number by its inverse. Okay, when we say inverse, the reciprocal. Okay, so that we'll get a product of 1. Where, this one is very important, a should not be equal to 0. Okay, because if we multiply that by 0, okay, the result would be a 0. Okay, however, here, if a is 0, of course, that is undefined. Or any number multiplied by 0 that is 0. So examples for the multiplicative inverse, 4 times the reciprocal of 4, okay? We all know that 4 has always a denominator of 1 since it's a whole number, okay? Therefore, we have to multiply it by its inverse, which is 1/4. That is equal to 1. Another, if we have 2/3, okay, the inverse of that or the reciprocal of that is 3/2. So if we multiply the 2, it will also result to 1. So the last property is what we call distributive property. So the distributive property states that any expression with 3 numbers, A, B, and C, given in a form of like this, A times the quantity B plus C, or it can be subtraction as well. Okay. it is being resolved as AB plus AC, meaning to say our A here is being distributed to each of the terms in our quantity, okay, the one in the group. Alright, example, we have 2 times the quantity of 3 plus 4, okay, so that would be 2 distributed by 3 or multiply 2 times 3, that is 6. Same way, 2 times 4, okay, we multiplied or distribute the 2 by 4, the second term, that is 8. So 6 plus 8 is equal to 40. So again, for the distributive property, we can have it for subtraction also. That's for addition and subtraction. So the main operations here are multiplication, addition, or subtraction. So for your assignment, name the property being described and make sure that the property is specific and has an operation. For example, your answer is commutative property. You should say there whether it's commutative property of addition or commutative property of multiplication. Okay, so thank you for listening.